By the time I found out that she was up for adoption, she was dead set on, no, I need to just be realistic about my life and what my future holds.
That's when she came to me and she said, would you be interested in us adopting you? I didn't think that I would have a family again. I didn't think that I would go to college. I didn't think that I would have love. And with that, I just feel like my world is just so much brighter.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Angel's Garage. And as you know, this is the season of legends, and this week is no exception. This guest today rolled into Los Angeles in 1968 on August 23rd, and then became one of the best agents, producers, talent scouts in the business. He's been there for so long, let's just turn it over to Mr. Larry Thompson. How are you today?
Well, I can't complain about a damn thing.
That's a good day then. That's a real good day.
Things are good. Things are good.
So why don't you tell us about your extensive career with Hollywood, cars, stars, and where we are now?
Well, I think my love for Hollywood started with my mom because one night at midnight at a crossroads in the Mississippi Delta,
This is a good story already, I can tell.
a guy sold his soul to the devil to learn to play the guitar. And as legend goes, that's where the blues was born. Robert Johnson
Yes,
sold
sir.
his soul at the crossroads. And that was in my hometown. And I used to think that story was like so cool. But my mom wasn't as impressed with the story as I was. And she would say, Larry, you know, there's nothing in this town for you. You got to grow up, get educated, and get out of here because this town is nothing but a graveyard with street lights. And I don't want you standing on your feet all day long like your dad working in that grocery store. So she used to read Photoplay magazine, which was like today's People magazine, you know, lifestyle. She loved the movie stars. She loved Hollywood. So she would say to me, sitting on the couch, looking at one of these magazines, she said, I want you to grow up, and I want you to go to Hollywood, and I want you to meet all these important people.
Wow.
And I want you to become important.
Oh, wow.
And I went to Memphis last Thursday, and I bought myself a red dress, and I put it in a box, and I put it under the bed, and I'm not wearing that dress until you invite me to Hollywood to see you win an Academy Award.
Oh, wow.
So if that's not a monkey on your back or a chicken bone in your throat, you know, I don't know what is. But I guess I was lucky that my mom inspired me and that I, too, had an interest in it. So when I graduated from law school at the University of Mississippi, I packed up everything I owned in this black Oldsmobile that I had, put all my clothes on a rack in the back, drove 3 days to the corner of Hollywood and Vine, because that's the only address I knew. And not only had I never been to California, I had never met anyone who'd been to California.
Oh, wow.
So that night, August 23rd at 10 p.m. when I got out of the car, it was pouring down raining, and I looked up at the Capitol Records building and I'd said, I've arrived.
Oh, wow.
I'm home. This is where I'm supposed to be. So I started off with $700 and a dream, and it's been even better than the dream.
Wow.
It's been wonderful.
A lot of hard work. And your first client was Mr. Jim Neighbors, is that correct?
Jim Neighbors, golly, Shazam. Yeah, he was one of my early clients. That was after I'd left Capitol Records. I started off as an in-house counsel for Capitol Records. And they actually, because I was one of the younger in the group, and understood contemporary music, that instead of the Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Al Martino days, the Beatles were the biggest act there were. And they brought me in to literally negotiate the Beatle breakup and to have Capitol sign 4 individual contracts with 4 solo artists instead of signing them as a group. So that's how I initially made a name for myself. Opened up a law firm and management company with 3 other great lawyers, and met Jim Neighbors. And because we speak the same language, we got to working together, and that led to Sonny and Cher, and that led to Barry White, and that led to so many people. So now after 68, how many years ago is that? 53, maybe?
Yeah, 54.
I've represented over 250 stars and made over 27 movies, and boy, have I had a good time.
That's just fascinating. It really is. I know one of your clients that you've had for over 40 years is none other than William Shatner.
William Shatner, I love him.
And to know that he was back in the days when, like, Gene Winfield would send over the Galileo to the Star Trek set and the reactor, and that just had to be fascinating to watch this kind of stuff back in young Hollywood.
Well, actually, during those days, that was a little bit before me, because that was the initial series that ran, in black and white. I started representing Bill, and then we went to movies in color, and, the world opened up, and Star Trek became the prize intellectual property for Paramount that it is today. When the show was on the air, it ran a few years and people liked it and everything, but it wasn't until years later that it became the icon that it is now.
And you worked with David Hasselhoff?
I still do.
Oh, my goodness. Can you tell us anything that's coming up?
Well, your timing is actually very good today, because I can confirm on your show that Knight Rider is being made into a theatrical film.
Oh, wow.
So they're doing another
Oh, wow.
version of Knight Rider that's going to be modern, obviously paying homage to everything in Knight Rider, but it's some very talented people working on it, and we're very optimistic that it's going to be wonderful.
So we got the scoop first.
You
here.
got the scoop first.
That's hot. Exclusive on Angel's Garage. Thank you, Larry.
I mean, Knight Rider has so many followers all over the world.
Oh, yes.
And David and I have traveled the world, and he's performed everywhere. And we always at meet and greets have a kit that people can get to see, along with meeting David and autographs and things like that.
That's really super.
And everybody knows the star of the car in the show is just amazing Kit. That's just, you made a car iconic as well. Not only do you take people and make them iconic, you take the cars and make them iconic as well. It's a twofer.
And in today's world, there's so many top tech companies that are involved in creating a autonomous car. They look back and see Kit as probably the earliest version of a artificial intelligence car that spoke, in addition to all the gadgets that it had to it. So a lot of times, similar to Star Trek with Bill, what they talked through became the cell phone that we use today.
It is amazing how Hollywood really predicts the future.
That's amazing.
And,
I didn't even
and
think about it that way, yeah.
And Kit became a car that looks like we're all going to be riding.
And everybody
pretty
wanted
soon.
one. Yeah, everybody wanted that car as a kid, yeah.
It was like Kit was the first talking car.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's just fascinating. And to know they're coming back, that's just really cool. Knight Rider.
And look at all the technology that came from that and is being used on cars today. Like the turn signals for the changing lanes and all the little beeps. Everything that you saw in that car back then, they're using nowadays.
So if we think that Hollywood is a predictor of the future, we'll all be driving Transformers pretty soon here.
I have to ask you now, when David was on Knight Rider, did he drive that car?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And he did his own little stunts that he could?
Most of them.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That is
Wow.
really
That's
interesting.
cool.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. So,
To give credit, it's difficult to be an actor and you're talking to nothing. I mean, as an actor, you know, it comes off, oh, he's talking to a car. Well, you know, that took training and practice, and it wound up being really wonderful.
If you're married for 16 years, you get good practice at talking to somebody. That's nothing.
And you eventually learn not to talk to people.
Yeah, that's the more important one right there. You learn when to keep it shut. Yeah.
Right.
I am thoroughly impressed. You have so many icons that you've worked with, and that's brought so much joy to the world, like just Barry White, Cicely Tyson. And I mean, is there any stories that you could share that was just unique to somebody?
Well, after I had negotiating the Beatle breakup at Captain, we opened up the entertainment law firm and management company. I had gotten a call from a friend of mine who I went to school with at Ole Miss. It said, I got a friend out there, and he's in the music business, and he's looking for a lawyer. And I told him, you know, you're the best lawyer there is, so you're going to be getting a call from this guy, and he's going to come to visit you. I said, okay. So one day I come back from lunch, and sitting on the floor in the lobby is this huge African-American man, wild hair, wearing an overcoat and bedroom slippers and nothing on underneath. And he jumps up and he says, "Are you Mr. Thompson?" I says, "Yes." He said, "Mr. Thompson, I got to meet you. You got to be my lawyer." I said, "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but you got to be my lawyer." I said, "Well, come on in." So he says, "Mr. Thompson, this tape I have, it's the most valuable thing to me, and I need you to represent me." I said, "Look, Barry, you know, you have to have $500 just to open up a file here. You know, I really don't know who you are." And everything. He said, "Well, Jimmy told me you were the best." He said, "Mr. Thompson, hold this tape. It's the most valuable thing I own. I'll be back with $500.
Wow.
So I took the tape. He left. I figured, you know, I'm probably never going to see this guy again. But anyway, I pop it into the machine. And for the very first time, I heard that deep, melodious voice of,
Oh, my.
don-a-don-a-don, you know, and Barry White singing. It just sent chills through me. And sure enough, 3 days later, he came back with wadded up $500 bills. He had left South Central L.A., walked in his bedroom slippers to Sunset Boulevard where my offices were, stopped at a Westward Ho, got a barbecue chicken under the heat lamp, ate it with barbecue chicken sauce on his hand and $500 bills. He put it down on the table and he says, "Mr. Thompson, you're my lawyer." I says, "Barry, if I'd listened to the tape first, I would have loaned you $5."
I wouldn't have made you walk so far.
And
that started our career, his career, and Barry White went on to be a legend. And we traveled all over the world, opening up nightclubs, and the sound of Barry White changed the world.
And we're going to woo our way right to a commercial, get you some Haymaker coffee, and we'll be right back.
My parents brought 2 girls in the world that end up in foster care. I was the older one. I felt like if we were gone and they weren't there, who else could take care of her?
My sister was always there for me, so I would have been really scared if we were split up.
Our eldest was 3.5, and then Kai, her biological brother, was 1.5.
Raising full biological siblings, we can definitely see that anytime we do something as a family, Kai is the first one to speak up to make sure that Serenity is included.
There were 3 kids that were just beautiful kids that needed somewhere to be, and there's nothing more of a struggle, more painful, but more rewarding to go through than bringing kids into your home and giving them a chance.
Angel's Garage, the podcast, is brought to you by My Travel Tray. Life on the go just got easier. And by Haymaker Coffee Company. Grab life by the beans. And by Ford Gum since 1913.
And we're back with none other than Mr. Larry Thompson. Mr. Larry Thompson, can you give me any kind of story of the back of a limousine? You've been in many.
Oh, I have a lot of back of the limousine stories. You know, I've been I've been in the limo to hell quite a few times. But a story that I can tell that it makes me smile is that Cicely Tyson was a client for 40 years also, who recently passed away.
Yes.
And she was married to Miles Davis, the great jazz musician at one time. And we were in Washington, D.C., at a big, fancy, smancy black-tie dinner for, at that time, Vice President George Bush. And we were running late to get to this event where we were sitting on the dais. And on the way, here we are in this big stretch, and Miles says, wait, there's a chicken joint right around the corner, and let's get some chicken. And I says, Miles, we're late already. No, we got to get some chicken. So Cicely said, yeah, let's get some. So we pulled up, we ordered this big bucket of chicken. We're sitting in the parking lot in the back of this big limousine, eating fried chicken. And we were 30 minutes late to sit on the dais for the vice president. But that is a limousine story I can tell. And having just been part of setting up her memorial and funeral, she's on my mind a lot now. So just had to tell a little story on you, Cicely.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Do you, so with everybody you've worked with and all the different cars you've seen over the years, stunts aren't being done as much. It's more like CGI and stuff. And where do you see the industry moving?
You mean with cars?
And Hollywood
stunts?
and, yeah.
Well, you know, cars is still a very big part of movie making because, you know, kids 18 to 25 make up 35% of the people who go to movies.
Yep.
And they like cars.
Yep.
So cars are always going to be a part of movie making. And movie stars have cars that speak for themselves or speak for them. You know, as we've talked about, whether it's KITT or whether it's the Batmobile or whether it's General Lee or Aston Martin, Sean Connery, Bullitt. So we still have that. I mean, Fast and Furious, 20 years now, if you can believe it, has been an enormous,
That is amazing.
That is long.
Yeah.
enormous franchise. And now, I was being serious, Transformers is sort of the new way to think of cars. And also, stunt drivers to do stunts are always going to be around. But we can take that to another level now with CGI. But, you know, everything is changing now. We're in a transitorial period in everything in our lives, including Hollywood, in that, you know, you recently had a guest, Wade Kawasaki, who's in the aftermarket business of cars. And, of course, that's quite a huge market. But we're really now moving into the pre-market of space travel.
Very interesting.
And while the aftermarket will always be there for automobiles, kids now who are seeing us go into space, individuals, not the government, they're thinking about how do I build my rocket or how do I build my buggy that's going to move around on Mars when I get there. So you're going to see kids focused not on improving the past, but creating the future. And I think you're going to see movies on the front end of that, nurturing that imagination.
That's insightful. I can see that,
very
too.
interesting view, yeah.
I'd like to talk about your books. You've got so much. Let's talk about your books.
Well, you know, I've written 2 books. My third one I'm in the middle of. One that I love is Shine, the 4 powerful steps about how to become a star in your own life.
Oh.
You don't have to be in the movies to be a star. You know, no matter what you do, how to be the best you can be.
Oh, that's good.
And
That's
I've taken of what I've learned from all the people that I've represented and condensed it down into 4 elements that they all possess.
Oh.
So I talk about these 4 elements that if you apply to yourself, how you can do that. And the 4 elements of talent, you have to identify your talent. And everybody has a talent.
That's right.
I know you think you don't have a
Firm believer
talent,
in that.
but you have one.
Yes.
Oh, I don't have a talent. Well, I mean, people like my cookies. Well,
That's a
Miss Phil, you know, if you know how to bake cookies, there's a business there.
That's
you know.
right.
Well, people let me do their hair salon, you know. So identify your talent because you don't follow your opportunities in life, you follow your bliss. And if bliss is cookies or if it's hairstyling, that's where your talent lies. So talent, the second is rage. Meaning not a hope that it's going to happen, not a passion that it's going to happen, but a one-way ticket, a tunnel vision, a rage for success.
Yes.
Third is you have to have a team of people to support you. And you select these people depending on what you need the most. And last is you need luck. And believe it or not, in my seminars, I teach people how to be lucky because you can be lucky. So talent, rage, team, and luck are the 4 elements that if you employ and you work on, you will be the best at what you can be. So that's one book called Shine. Another book is I talk about the music business. And the book I'm writing now that I think is going to be very interesting is called Hollywood is Gone with the Wind.
Oh, well, tell us about that.
Not that it's cynical, because you know I love Hollywood. I mean, my mom instilled that in me. So nobody loves Hollywood and everything we do more than me. But maybe that's why I'm one of the early ones to notice what's different now. And
Can you give us an example?
well, I think that Hollywood is beginning to implode under its own self-importance, and that we're so focused on telling everybody else how they should live their life or what they should do in their life that we're losing sight on entertaining people or putting out messages that are important, but not everything has to be a message, not everything has to be politically correct. But I think, as I said, Hollywood's taking itself so important that it's losing sight of what the audience expect us to do.
I've seen a difference that in younger years when I'd watch what you all do, you had to get headshots and you had to go to an agent and blah, blah, blah. And now it's more like anybody can get on the internet and light a fart on fire and then they're famous.
And they do.
And they do.
In fact, I heard a few other day.
And it's like, how does that, do you feel that social media influencers help the industry, or do they get kind of a free ride because, or is it harder for them, you know?
You know, as one who's seen quite a bit of change over the years, I don't think about that. In other words, it is what it is. Whether it's good or bad, nobody cares what I think about that.
I love his light.
It is what it is.
This is wisdom right here.
Yes.
And my job is to maneuver the is. So I take talent and say, okay, this is what you do. How do we bring to your persona and character the acclaim you deserve? So let's not discuss good or bad about what the industry is. Let's play the game better than everybody else.
Beautiful.
What a statement that is right there.
I'm surprised our producer didn't do an audience track for me. That was a good applaud line.
Right?
I'd also like to ask, what else is in this book that you're creating right now, the Hollywood?
Well, you know, I'm talking about the history and how we got where we are, and things that are going on, whether it be political, whether it be social, and how somehow Hollywood feels that it's supposed to do all the things that it's doing. And then I present certain...
Is it, though?
Well, I think it tries, and I think certain celebrities take it a bit too far. But, you know, a star has the right to do anything that any other person does. So I'm not telling who what to do.
Right.
I'm just saying as an industry, as a business that creates entertainment and message content for the world. Listen to your audience.
Yes.
Do you hear the silence? Do you see that the ratings on award shows have plummeted? Do you realize maybe they don't like being lectured? And maybe we should respect them and enlighten them through our work and not preaching to them.
That's amazing. And one thing I will say you made me think of is back in the day, you didn't know a lot about the celebrities. They kept a mystique about them. And when you did see them, it's like, ah. And nowadays, it's just like an open book. It's just watching how, not it's good or bad, but it's just watching how.
It's the difference.
Yeah, it's a difference in the time because back then it was an allure because they didn't share all their information. And now it's just an open book. So to watch
Well,
it
reality
change.
television has had a lot to do with that, and social media, as you said. We used to keep stars as secrets, and you only got to know what the studio wanted you to know or what the image makers wanted you to know. Now, we see them do everything, anything.
Yes.
And I think we've diluted the value of celebrity by marginalizing its scarcity. Now you have access to everybody. And reality stars, that's all they have. So they're out telling you their bra sizes and whatever else. You know,
Small.
you wanna
Just so
know.
we all know, small.
So, you know, the stars are trying to keep up with reality stars. But, you know, we live in a world that's transcended Andy Warhol. It's not 15 minutes of fame anymore. You know, you have a lifetime of fame here. So, again, I don't put value judgments on it. I just know as the media changes, as the medium changes, it's different ways to tell stories that preferably lift the human spirit and puts our world in a better place.
I got to get ready to go to a break, but we cannot do that until you give us your best one-liner. What is your famous one-liner that you said?
Well, I tell all the stars that I represent, you know, that, you know, you have to work hard. You don't just walk to town and be discovered at a drugstore, and next thing you know, you're a big movie star. It requires work and staying at it and learning to live with disappointment. And I always say, you know, if you come to Hollywood, remember this. You can never get hit by lightning if you're not willing to stand out in the rain.
And
So
And
I ask them to stand out in the rain.
You heard it here.
I'm going to stand out there with a lightning rod, and we'll be back with Mark's Minutes, Mr. Thompson.
I think you both have already been standing out in the rain with a lightning.
Well, I know I'm about to get electrified. This has been a joy. You are a legend, and we appreciate you for coming. And Mark, you get a whole minute to talk. Say goodbye to Mr. Thompson, and we'll be back with you. Thank you. Set it up, Mark.
Oh, so on Mark's Minutes this week, don't make a mess of your day. Keep it together with a travel tray.